we've got a situation here in Australia, in particular, that youth is basically not getting enough football, they're not getting enough training, they're not getting enough. Everybody agrees with it. Everybody in Australia agrees with it.
Everyone, including the new technical director of the FFA, Rob Sherman.
Yeah, they all agree. So, basically, what we're trying to do, or what we're trying to do, what am I talking about? What Ashfield are trying to do is try to introduce an academy. Is that correct? Because I don't know an awful lot about this.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll probably start from the beginning. We're all aware there's a problem. And I've personally been involved in a number of discussions with a lot of people in junior development, so with parents of kids, with coaches, with presidents at clubs, and it all boils down to there being one issue, is that the current system is flawed, and we all agree with that, and no one will disagree with that. So what do we do? Do we sit around and wait for Football West or the FFA to tell us what to do, or do we get the right people together in a room and thrash out what we think should be done? And that's what we've decided to do at Ashfield. I'm a firm believer that we don't need Football West or the FFA or FIFA or anyone to tell us what to do. With this regard, we can appoint the coaches that we want and the structures in which we want to operate. And if we think it's a good way of developing kids and obviously integrating that well with our current structures in place at the club, then we should look at ways of doing that. And we started having conversations with Andy, and Andy's one of the people who we've been speaking to, and that led us down a path where we and Andy introduced us to Mitchell Prentice, who most of you be aware was a former Perth Glory and Sydney United player. And until recently, he was the Bayswater technical director as well. And
before that, I think he was about 6 or 7 years
with Perth Glory
in
their junior development as well. And
hitting that job pretty hard.
He did hit that job pretty hard.
Yeah, he's probably punching above his weight.
And
which is why he's moved to Ashfield.
Absolutely. So look, we've been having some conversations for some time. We've been looking at a couple of the challenges that we had, and one of the big things is that, and something that we've noticed at Ashfield as well since developing our juniors over the last couple of years, is that it's difficult to bridge that gap between juniors and seniors as well, and that was something else that we wanted to improve, and it's something that hasn't. I mean, our juniors have gone very well, but it hasn't gone as well as we'd liked it to have in the respect of the link between juniors and seniors. So that link we just can't quite get right. So we've recruited Andy into Ashfield. We've recruited Mitch, and Mitch has actually been appointed as our head coach for next year as well. So Matt Wardle has resigned in the last couple of weeks, and So Mitchell Prentice has been appointed as our head coach, and he's also going to be heading up our technical elements of our Ashfield Academy as well.
That's right. And also just to cement the connection between the juniors and the seniors, as Phil was mentioning, because there's generally a disconnect in most clubs. Our senior coaches will be coaching junior teams. So they'll be coaching the older kids and the younger kids too. So they'll know all the kids. There's going to be a smaller group of coaches. They'll be communicating more tightly. They'll know all the kids right from the age of 11, 12 years old, right the way up through to the first team. So they'll know each individual kid. They'll know when each individual kid is ready for the next challenge and play them in a team, in a position which will challenge them accordingly. Now, ultimately, that means in the first team. That's fantastic. And that's what we want. We want that connect. I just want to make one thing absolutely clear, though, is Rob Sherman came out in, 2 months ago, I think, after he was appointed as the FFA technical director, and said that the junior development program in Australia was rubbish. Overseas models were far superior. We should be looking at overseas models to take our lead, to take our direction. And then we've had a whole bunch of people, Football West, Football Federation Victoria, we've had A-League players coming out in the last 2 months or so, pretty much agreeing with him. Coincidentally, Rob was actually in town tonight. He's giving a presentation over at Football West. We haven't reacted to what Rob said and then cobbled this together in the last few weeks. We've actually been working on this idea in its planning stage probably for the best part of 12 months. Could you say we were ahead of the game? No, I don't really think so. A lot of people were criticising the current system, the current development system, but not many people are actually doing something about it. As Phil mentioned, we've decided to do something about it. Is it new? Yes, it is. Is it a little bit different to what other clubs do? Yes, it is. Is it based on any models over here? Not really. About the closest thing that we've had to this is the AIS in Canberra, which is now defunct in terms of soccer, in terms of football. So we've kind of based this on what we see being successful overseas. And I'll just give you kind of a little bit of a rundown of it. So there is an academy pathway we're hoping to start around about the age of 11 or 12. One team in every age group right the way through. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20s and firsts. Training is 5 sessions a week for pretty much all the juniors. Seniors, maybe not so much. So 5 sessions a week. Most clubs in Australia do 2 nights. Some do 3, right? 3 nights is not enough. 20 games a season is not enough. Our counterparts, our competitors over in Europe, the kids in Europe, they're training 15 hours a week. They playing between 40 and 60 matches a year, right? And we're training our kids 3 hours a week and playing them 20 matches a year and expecting them to go over there and hold their own in trials and compete. So it's different. There's more hours, more contact hours with coaches, fewer coaches coaching more teams. So it's a lot more tight knit, a lot more. We're treating the kids as individuals, and we think we've got the model, and it's connected to obviously the seniors. We think we've got the model that works. We've pitched the idea to a lot of people already. We've had one information night, got a fantastic response. Second information night we're hosting 7 o'clock, I think, on next Monday, the 2nd of September. People are more than welcome to come along. The response has been overwhelming, to be honest, and we've started already now to assemble teams in each age group into the academy, which will start this November.
That's what I was just going to say. So when is the start date? In November?
The first week of November is when we'll actually get kids on the field. But obviously the work has started, and the work is happening now to put all of those things in place. The first thing to do, obviously, is to assemble the teams. 60 offer letters went out over the weekend. We've had a great response to that already. We've had 40, I think, expressions of interest so far as a result of that. So it's all starting to come together quite nicely. Parents' response has been overwhelmingly enthusiastic because everyone knows there's a problem.
Yes. Well, look, we all agree it's a problem. It's just a question. I say, look, fair play. It's a club that's doing it. Are other clubs going to follow suit? Probably not.
Well, hopefully they do. Actually, to be honest.
Well, yeah, we would hope so, but not in the short term. I can't see it happening.
Well, no, I don't think anyone is going to follow anyone when someone hasn't done anything yet.
That's right.
Right? So this will be the first season that something new will be on the market, if you like. We don't expect anyone to look over the fence and go, hey, I wonder what these guys are doing at Ashfield, because we're in year 1. But this is a long-term project. Now, if it succeeds as we think it will succeed, year 2, year 3, we might be getting other clubs looking over the fence, going, "What's happening here?
Right.
What are we doing differently?"
Now, when you start off, you're bound to have some targets that you've got to reach in the first couple of years.
In terms of performance on the field, are you talking about?
In terms of, you obviously have got some, what do you call them?
Targets,
yeah, basically targets.
Well, probably more like
goals.
Probably goals. I was going to say, probably goals.
Yeah. So what are
we talking about? So we're talking about performance targets, as in on the field or off the field, either.
I want to know what your indices are, your performance indices.
Off the field, we want to have an age group in every. a team in every age group. That's what we would like, right? So that's a full academy. Now
in which division?
The highest division that we are allowed to play in.
Are you in that division at the moment in all them age groups?
In some,
yes, I believe.
we are.
Yeah.
Every single team that you've got in 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s,
not
16s.
14s, remember?
Right. 13s, 15s. So 14s you won't have from Metro.
12s and below, they're playing in blue. It's slightly different, right? So 13s and above, it's Metro 1. We obviously don't have a 14s. That's why the criteria was missed.
Right.
15s there's a Metro 1 and a North Division 1. 16s I don't think there's a 16s, right? So both the 13s and
won't them
15s.
teams, they won't start in Metro 1?
They may or they may not, Eamon. They'll be playing in the highest possible level. But in my experience with junior teams, Football West are fairly accommodating at making sure that teams play at an appropriate level. So we had that experience with our teams this year. One of our 14s, incidentally, were promoted into the 15s and are playing at the highest level they can without playing in the NPL. So I've got a high degree of confidence that that our teams will be graded appropriately.
I think, look, I think we're probably jumping a bit about performances about how many teams. I think the first thing we have to acknowledge is a job well done from Ashfield to take the initiative, because this is big, and people are already talking about it, and when people are talking about it, it means that something's happening. So you got to rely, when you put something out, you're going to rely on people to execute the program. And now you got Phil on my right, I got Andy on my left, we both work together in different committees. We don't always agree in many things, I suppose. But one thing...
you never agreed with anything.
No, but I think it's fair to say that both of them love the game, and I respect that. You know.
I
just
agree
one
with Peter
thing on that.
I definitely agree with you there, Peter.
It is not possible to love the game and support Everton, right? Let's get that out of the way.
No. Look, we all there for the same reason. We all believe in different functions and setups, but what they're doing appear to do at Ashfield, I think, is big. And one advice I can give them, if I can tackle with them, do it for yourself first. Make sure that your club does it, everything, and then people will follow. If we rely on FFI, Dutch systems, Russian systems,
right.
Belgium systems, Portuguese systems, you never get there, because these people change every time a governance change.
Yeah.
So with your club, it's been around for a long time, and it will be. So you do your own program and sell your program. If people want to follow it, that's great. If not, at least Ashfield is going to be a club to be progressing in years to come.
I couldn't possibly agree with you anymore, Peter. It's really, really important that we develop a product that we think is right for us at Ashfield, and that's exactly what we've gone out and done. And look, to be honest, and I'll be totally honest with you, a few months ago I wasn't even sure if we were going in the right direction. After holding these parent information nights and hearing some of the feedback that we've actually received, people have gone out of their way to call me and contact me and tell me that what you're doing is amazing, and that was pretty powerful to hear those things when they were completely out of the blue. We weren't expecting the phone call. When you hear stuff like that, you know that you probably are going down a path of something that's quite big. And I think Andy and I have been up late at night and had those conversations where, you know, this is actually pretty big if we get this right, and we needed that validation. So we just certainly do think we're going in the right direction. We think we've created a product that people want, and we're bringing that under one roof at a club, and we're hoping that we will be able to deliver on that, and we're pretty confident we will.
And it's also it's a model and it's a plan that puts development of players at the top,
paramount,
right? So we're not talking about clubs who develop their players over 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, and then there's nowhere for them to go into the senior team because the senior team is getting bought every year, right?
Yeah.
So it's the whole package. There's no point in developing kids to the best of ability if they have no opportunity to play at the senior level. The risk, of course, of going out on your own and doing this is that you fall outside of the system. You fall outside of the governing body, outside of the current MPL structure.
You're also talking about more matches, right?
Absolutely.
Now, in the Metro, how many games are in Division 1? 20. So you want to get at least another 20 games, I'm assuming.
We'd like to have a 40-week program with 5 sessions a week. With
how are you going to manage
36 games.
How are you going to get? Because let's face it, this is Perth, this is WA.
Yeah.
The chances are teams that you're actually going to take some of the kids off, which you obviously are going to do, and you would already know that, are not going to be happy, right? They are not going to want to play you, to help you in any
they're going to kind of not play us because they don't agree with what we do or they won't succeed.
Mate, we've got an association that
It won't take them long before they start to come around, because at the end of the day, they want to be playing good teams, competitive matches for their
they're
own
happy in their
Hang on a second,
own
Eamon,
little...
right? Because I haven't even answered the question yet. The answer to the question is the extra games are going to come from competitive friendlies before the season, middle of the season, the end of the season.
Against who?
And I'll just give you an example. Already, our under-10s team and our under-12s team, right, already are entered into a mini World Cup football competition with Miguel and Brian, right? So even before we've even kicked this academy off, we're already getting...
We're fighting the best opposition
competitive games for our club.
Okay,
right?
I accept that.
There's lots of ways to do this.
Within Perth, where are you going to get it?
Well,
because, let's face it, you know as well as I do, the NPL teams are quite happy, and Peter will agree with me, I think, on this one. They're quite happy playing their own NPL tournament. Right? They don't like any interference from outside. Is that not correct, Peter?
Well, I think they're playing enough games. They've got the night series. They've
exactly.
got
so they're not going to want to play, and they're not going to want to help an academy that's
first
against...
of all, I actually don't agree that the junior NPL teams do play enough games, because
neither do I.
They've got a 20-game season.
I agree with you.
Rob Sherman's already said they're not playing enough games, so they're going to be looking for competitive friendlies as well.
I agree with you. I'm talking about the pig-headedness of everything in football here in WA.
Quite genuinely, that's not a major concern of ours. There's plenty of teams that will play football.
Yeah.
There's teams over east. There's teams in Asia. They're not that far away. We've already actually started having a few little internal discussions about bringing in teams from Asia if necessary, and if that's something we need to explore, we definitely will.
One of the things that we'd like to do is host an international tournament at Ashfield Arena.
Yeah.
I don't think any other WA club has done that, certainly within my knowledge or recently. And we'll be bringing teams from over east and also from overseas to play in that, in every age group. We believe we'd get support and backing from Football West there to sanction the competition. It's really something that I think these are the kind of things that we are exploring to bring in that competition. Now, I don't actually think there's a problem with other NPL clubs, because at the end of the day, it's about kids and it's about football.
Hey,
and
Andy,
at the end of the day,
that's a lovely sentiment, and I agree, personally I agree 100% with
No, you
it, but
don't.
I can guarantee... No, I agree with that sentiment, that it should be about the kids.
Yeah.
It's not. It's about money for the NPL teams.
Whenever you get a situation where you have, in your words, not mine, pig-headedness, obstinateness, people who just don't like what you're doing, so they will deliberately say no. That sounds very like a political arena to me.
Oh yeah.
Right. And when
Welcome to football WA.
And when you operate in a political arena, what you do is you build relationships, you knock down doors, you open doors, you have discussions, and eventually you end up getting what you want. And with Phil sat next to me and myself, running this project within a not-for-profit club, you've got two really good political operators. So we're not just
We're not just
throwing this out there and letting just a normal committee deal with this. We've handpicked our committee just like we're handpicking the coaches.
Yeah.
So it's every single aspect of it, every single variable we've worked on to maximise the outcome, maximise the success.
Oh yeah, as I say, the one I think that you're going to have the problem with is getting matches, to be quite honest. And that's just... It probably may only be for the first year. Let's get that. And maybe then teams will start coming around. Maybe other teams will start doing the same thing. But I don't think they'll have the budget.
Eamon, I'm being a little bit cheeky here, but if we want our under-15s to play the best, then maybe they play our under-14s.
Well,
or our under-16s. Right, and we'll have inter-academy training matches until people realise that we're actually good.
And the fees for these academies, because that's going to be a major one that people are going to ask about. So can you give us, because I know one of the things you've said to me is that there's going to be open and transparency
Absolutely.
as regards fees and that.
Finances.
By the way, just for people that are sitting there waiting for our tips, we're going to run on a little bit tonight because this is an important topic.
Yeah. So first of all, openness and transparency are key to all of this.
Fundamental. Yeah.
Fundamental. So any parent can come up any time ask us for the financials. They can have a look at the financials, so they'll know exactly how we're spending their money, right? Because it's their money.
Yep.
The other thing is, this is a big budget, right? So it's about a $350,000 budget, of which about 120,000 is going to be raised in the usual way that clubs do this, through sponsorship, through advertising, through grants, donations, however you do it. A big chunk of it, enough to cover the wages and the entrance fees into Football West and the other obligations like kit purchases. They'll be done through registration fees.
Right.
Now those fees for year one will be set at $2,130, and that's broken down in this way. So $30, the small bit, is a club membership fee, the annual club membership. $600 of that fee covers 4 school holiday camps. Each camp lasts for 3 days. So this is an extra 12 days full-time training per year. A lot of contact hours there.
When you say full-time, that's from 8 in the morning?
From 8:30 in the morning through till 3:30 in the afternoon, right? For 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Either at the start or the end of the holiday, so the parents can actually go away with the kids on holiday. Right, so I don't think anyone else does that. Well, yes, there's private academies and soccer schools and things like this, right, who are doing it for profit. This is part of the Ashfield Academy with the same coaches are getting all year. Now, the remaining part of the fee is $1,500. It's on a par, I suppose, with some of the more expensive NPL clubs. But what you have to remember is, if we're paying, I don't know, $900 to $1,200, $1,300 for an NPL club, you're getting 2 nights a week, 1 game on Sunday. So with us, it's 5 sessions. So 5 1.5-hour sessions a week, with a game on Sunday over a 40-week program. So I think it works out to be around about 500 contact hours compared to about 180 contact hours for other clubs. So we think it's great value for money. I think if I worked out on average how much it costs for my kid to play currently in an NPL club, it's about $8.50 an hour. Joining the Ashfield Academy would be $4.70 an hour.
Yeah, but again, the overall cost, like you're saying, $1,500 against probably $1,200 or something like that. Or, $2,100.
$2,130.
Against about $1,200. So there is a big...
And you're getting 2.5 times as much.
I know that. I'm just...
But bearing in mind as well, parents are spending...
Exactly. Well, this is the other thing.
Parents are spending... And we did this in our research, but parents are spending about $5,000 or $6,000 a year on their kids' training. Taking them to camps, taking them to additional training after school, before school. We're bringing all of that external training under one roof with the same coaches at Ashfield. So that's probably, why it's a little bit more, but a lot less in the big.
Phil makes a great point, because there's a lot of parents with their kids currently playing for NPL clubs that they know 2 nights a week isn't enough.
Yeah.
Right. So what do? Well, generally those kids are involved in the Football West program, which is 1 night a week, and then generally those parents pick up the phone, talk to their mates, find out which private soccer academy is any good, right? And then they send those kids there 1 night a week, 2 nights a week. So you have a situation where parents are paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year to get 5 nights a week training, right? From 3 or 4 different coaches in 3 or 4, 5 different locations, getting taught different things, different messages,
different methodologies,
different ways.
Yep.
It's a nightmare, right? It's an absolute nightmare, because parents know that what's being offered right now isn't enough. Rob Sherman says it's not enough. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we're not hanging around. We're doing this under one roof, and we'll see if parents agree with us, and quite a lot of parents already have.
So how many players per team?
15 on the card. So whatever the card is, I think it's 15 or 16.
15 or 16, whatever it is.
So from the age of 13.
Well, that's an NPL thing as well.
Yeah, from 12 below, it's I think it's is it 12, because
I don't know.
We're not going to be.
Your question is, are we running shadow squads or anything like that? No, we're definitely not.
It's 1 squad per age group, and we're not in a situation, or we're not going to be in a situation where we're carrying 20 kids in one age group, so 5 actually can't play the match.
Within Ashfield itself, you've got your academy. Are you still going to have the other junior teams?
Absolutely. This is a critical part. So we're still going to have our community stream. We think that we have a very strong community stream run by fantastic coaches. So
them coaches are going to remain?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we going to have the two streams operating side by side.
What happens if you find kids in the lower stream that are actually capable of playing in the upper stream?
Then there's going to be a complicated discussion between Mitch and the junior coaches.
But basically, there's opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if there's kids currently playing at Ashfield who either the coaches that are currently coaching them say you need to have a look at, or there's kids that we spot, then
all right.
we'll be talking and giving them a chance.
So roughly how many of these, say, 150 invites that you've sent out, or whatever it is that you've sent out?
60 out.
60. So
that's the first batch.
Yeah. So how many is there going to be in total? Probably 120 or 100.
Yeah, about 100.
So how many of them will be current Ashfield players?
One is currently on the list.
One.
Yeah.
Out of the whole 60?
We've scouted 190 kids.
There's going to be an awful lot of pissed off clubs.
What do you mean?
Other clubs that are going to lose.
No, well, they're going to lose them anyway, because every single NPL club is about to announce trials, and the merry-go-round begins. So
you know what happens every year, don't you?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There's this merry-go-round.
So the merry-go-round's going to fire up in about 6 weeks' time.
So how are you going to get out of the fact that and I know you've already discussed this probably with the parents and all like this, that we are not an NPL junior club. Is the NPL juniors going to disappear altogether?
Who knows? We don't know.
Well, I can give you some latest information on that.
Yeah.
Rob Sherman tonight was talking at Gibney Reserve between 6 and 9. So basically, NPL in its current format is disappearing. They're currently reviewing the NPL structure around the country to basically bring it, the structure, to standardise the structure across the country. What that looks like right now, he doesn't know. But what he has said is NPL is a brand, it's not good, and it means nothing, right? Yeah. So you can pretty much writings on the wall. In other words, writings on the wall.
So we're probably going to go back to how it used to be,
which is
great news.
Which I hope so.
Well, which is really the irony about it is that everything was going well until Peter Haag decided to change the world.
Yeah, I didn't know Peter.
And caused more problems than Net.
Well, Peter, you were there in those meetings, and we can now say I told you so.
Well,
pretty much.
If you listen back to Let's Talk Football,
I didn't agree with that. We had a lot of arguments.
I think
of course we did.
On the end of the day.
Well, I didn't know Peter Haag personally, but I did happen to. Eamon sent me an archive of an interview that I think you did 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I might actually put the podcast on once I've edited it down. I might actually put it on the social media because it's an incredibly informative and interesting interview that happened with the then CEO of Football West, in which pretty much everything that was said has now been
come to fruition.
It's just it's a shame. I don't think anyone's going to be too pleased with themselves that they were right 8 years later.
No, I'm not. No, we're not.
At the end of the day, we pretty much lost a generation of kids.
We did. But the problem was nobody would listen.
Okay. Now going back to a few things that Rob Sherman said tonight. So the things that he's talking about are the things that are included in our plan already. He wants more contact hours for kids. He wants a system. He wants to recognise academy systems that are doing well, and he's going to have an opt-in system where academies get reviewed every year. Right? You don't know this, Phil. I just found this.
This is actually really good stuff.
And they'll be rated 1 to 4. So an academy like Ashfield with professional full-time coaches, which is self-funded, it's a 4 rating, right? So in a year, I don't know how quickly this thing will be set up, but guess what? When it is set up, guess who will be applying to get it to accreditation?
If I can make a suggestion on this, is that when you finish your strategies, your plans, your structures, and everything, it's only an opinion, mind you.
Of course.
It might be worth just to send a copy of your program to Rob Sherman.
We're actually quietly hoping to actually meet with him when he was here, but that might not happen. But
so this is what we're doing.
We definitely are planning to talk.
I know from history myself, from a long time, 40 years, that you've got to go to the top. Don't worry about the middle federations.
No. Well, actually,
I
actually made a mistake. It wasn't at Gibney Reserve. It was at Dorian Gardens. I've just been corrected. But the other thing I've also been told and one of the reasons why Mitch couldn't be here tonight is because he was actually at this presentation this evening. So one of the things he's made a comment to me about is that if Rob Sherman knew the details of our plan, he would love it, because it pretty much aligned with everything that he was saying tonight. And that's what he wants to roll out for Australia. We're rolling it out probably 12 months before any other club.
And we're doing it now. That's a big thing.
So it's all systems go for November then.
Correct.
So you will start training in November.
Correct.
How many weeks a year?
40.
40. Right.
It's a 40-season program. Remember, you've got
Right.
school holidays
Yeah.
in there too.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a 40.
It's a 40-week program. If we go longer, yep, we're doing charades here, by the way.
That's all right.
If we go longer, we go longer. We won't go shorter.
Okay. And that kicks off, and you'll still have the break over Christmas and the break.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit, isn't it?
Good luck. Come back, Eamon, as we get this thing kicked off, and we'll keep you informed on how it
Well,
goes.
it's something
if you're
new.
interested, of course.
Questions have to be asked,
Of course they do.
obviously.
Well, this is the first time we've spoken publicly about it.
Yes.
We've actually deliberately so as well. It's not something we want to scream from the rooftops.
Yeah.
We're being unashamedly elite about it. It's invite only, and that's a decision.
And that's the other thing. There are not going to be any trials, I take it.
Absolutely not.
I'm glad of that, because that is an absolute...
Yeah.
Having had a kid that went through trials...
Well, someone said to me recently,
It's soul-destroying.
trials are for criminals.
Yeah, and it's soul-destroying.
And I kind of laughed at it at the time, but when you think about it, you're putting a kid, sometimes as young as 12 and 13, in a situation for an hour and saying, right, you've got to perform now.
Yes.
Right, it's not the right way to do it. So that's why we spent huge hundreds of hours this year scouting over 190 kids. In fact, I had 3 parents email me a week ago to say, we've heard about this through some word of mouth or whatever, and we would like our kids to be part of it. Those 3 kids weren't on my list. So our coaches went round, and they've now watched 2 games each of those players, and have seen something, and then we've sent them offer letters as well. So this is invite only.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we need to get across, that there are not going to be trials. Which, again, as I said, I agree 100% with you. Trials are for sheep.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we don't agree on the
Okay. All right, Phil. Thank you very much.
Thank
Well
you,
done, boys.
Eamon, for the
Good luck.
time.